have you ever wondered why Toyota, the world's largest car maker, keeps selling millions of hybrids instead of going fully electric? Did you know the Japanese company spent $14 billion on a single EV battery factory? Produced over 8,000 battery patents in just 3 years. Even though Toyota keeps spending billions of dollars on electric cars, why do its executives still talk about a hybrid future? The answer is simpler than you think. The hybrid trap. In this video, we will explain how we are being misled by the promise of hybrid cars and how Toyota found itself in the middle of a massive technological shift. Back in 1997, Toyota, long known for reliability and safety, saw hybrids as the future when it launched the Prius, its first hybrid car.
Prius.
And they hit the jackpot. It didn't take long for the Prius to become a global pop icon. Celebrities posed behind the wheel.
Wear a helmet when I drive my Prius.
You got a Prius? I love the Prius.
And the car showed up everywhere, from movies to primetime TV shows. This humble-looking car took the American and Japanese markets by storm and became one of the defining cars of the new millennium. After the success of Prius, Toyota was hailed as a pioneer of a new automotive era, driven by a series of battery-powered electric vehicles. By 2007, there were more than 1 million Toyota hybrids on the road. And after that, in just 5 years, that number had reached 5 million. Powered by hybrids, this strategy that would later make this Japanese company the world's largest car maker was unfolding exactly as planned. And yes, you're right, Toyota was developing and producing partially electric vehicles. But the real problem wasn't the car, it was the battery. Before Toyota even realized what was happening, they found themselves on the wrong side of a massive technological shift. So to understand how hybrids came to be, we need to go back to the 1980s. The 80s marked a turning point in the rapid expansion of portable electronic devices. What made this possible was the development of rechargeable alkaline batteries. Japanese companies were leading the way in both electronics and rechargeable battery production, and during this period, the dominant battery technology was nickel-cadmium. From shavers to power tools, beloved Walkmans, portable cameras, mobile phones, and even laptops, everything ran on nickel-cadmium batteries. These batteries were long-lasting, worked in extreme conditions, and maintained their performance even at low charge levels. But by the 1990s, growing environmental concerns around nickel-cadmium batteries forced Japanese and European companies to search for alternative battery technologies. Meanwhile, concerns over the environmental impact of internal combustion vehicles grew globally. Electric cars were poised for a long-awaited comeback. From the US to Japan and across Europe, conversations about the return of EVs began to take shape and early models started hitting the roads. As vehicles started moving toward electrification, the world's leading battery makers began shifting away from nickel-cadmium, betting on two nickel-based technologies to solve the exploding demand for energy storage: lithium-ion and nickel metal hydride. During this period, Toyota found itself under pressure to develop its own battery technology for electric and hybrid cars. Lithium-ion batteries, despite investments from giants like Sanyo, were simply too expensive. In the 1990s, a single lithium-ion battery could cost up to $6,000. The supply chain was immature, making it an unproven technology. On the other hand, nickel metal hydride told a very different story. It was safer, longer-lasting, and closely resembled nickel-cadmium, with a mature supply chain already in place and unit costs dropping to around $250. It was the fastest path to commercialization. For a company as experienced as Toyota, the choice was obvious. The first move came in 1996. Determined to produce its own nickel metal hydride batteries, Toyota made a major investment and partnered with Japan's electronics and battery giant, Matsushita. Now, if the name Matsushita doesn't ring a bell, that's because you probably heard its modern name, Panasonic. Yes, the same Panasonic that went on to build the world's largest battery factory with Tesla. That partnership didn't just last, it scaled, and over time, it grew into a massive operation capable of supplying millions of hybrid cars with nickel metal hydride batteries every year. By the late 1990s, the battery industry was entering a new phase. Toyota and Matsushita had formed Panasonic EV Energy, or PV, and by 1997, they were scaling up massive factories and supply chains to produce the nickel metal hydride batteries used in the first Prius. For Toyota, everything was going exactly as planned. Years of heavy investment in R&D and manufacturing paid off. Toyota went on to sell 3.5 to 4 million hybrids a year, almost all of them powered by nickel metal hydride batteries. At the time, hybrid batteries were tiny, around 1.2 kilowatt hours, about what you would find in a scooter today. Given those limits, this technology made perfect sense. In a hybrid, that small battery gets charged and drained constantly, sometimes several times a day. Over 5 or 10 years, that meant thousands of charge cycles. The battery had to be extremely durable, and it had to deliver consistent performance even as its charge level dropped. Nickel metal hydride could do all of that at roughly 1/25 the cost of a lithium ion. Hybrid sales were exploding. The battery, however, was standing still, its capacity barely changing. Believe it or not, Toyota hybrids today are still using the same 1.2 kilowatt-hour battery launched in the early 2000s. While the rest of the world moved towards hybrids with larger batteries and fully electric cars, Toyota was falling behind, held back by a technology that left little room for further improvement. A few years ago, Toyota was able to produce more compact batteries with much higher power density and at lower cost, thanks to its bipolar current collector design. But despite spending billions on this technology, it couldn't scale it up to build cars with larger batteries. Toyota's partner Panasonic saw things differently. Unimpressed by its success in hybrid batteries alone, Panasonic made a decisive move in 2008, acquiring Sanyo, the world's largest lithium-ion battery maker at the time, with around 30% market share. The acquisition proved to be a defining moment in Panasonic's history. Within a few years, Panasonic positioned itself as Tesla's primary battery supplier. Even today, despite intense competition from Chinese manufacturers, the Japanese giant remains one of the world's largest lithium battery makers. A lithium-ion battery revolution was happening all around the industry. Toyota, the company that had built its reputation on hybrids, couldn't afford to stay on the sidelines. In 2010, it planned to move the Prius to lithium-ion batteries, but the technology never made it out of the lab at a viable cost. So Toyota stuck with its existing battery. Even in 2022, Toyota was still feeding its hybrid empire with nickel metal hydride, but the company also had to build a path into lithium. This shift mattered far beyond hybrids. For fully electric cars, lithium-ion was the only way to combine reasonable range and fast charging and low weight. At the time, it seemed almost unthinkable, with Toyota, the world's largest automaker and the pioneer of hybrid technology, still in the picture. Was the EV revolution really going to be led by Tesla, a small Silicon Valley startup hand-assembling cars in a former Chevrolet dealership? Or was it going to be led by BYD, a company best known for making phone batteries? They actually pulled it off. In 2012, Japanese giant was asked about its plan for electric vehicles. The response would come back to haunt the company. We are working on solid-state batteries. They will let us build electric cars that are cheaper, charge faster, and go farther. We expect to bring them to market by 2015 or by 2020 at the latest. Back then, electric cars simply weren't ready. With just 150 to 200 kilometers, range was limited. Charging took hours, batteries were heavy and expensive. They couldn't match what hybrids were offering. Just a year later in 2013, Toyota had another plan. They said lithium-ion batteries are too expensive. So instead of storing energy in batteries, we will store it in hydrogen. Hydrogen cars will soon be priced similarly to electric cars. By 2014, Toyota had revised its timeline once more. Solid-state batteries would miss the 2015 target, but now projected for 2020. And for the next decade, the story was the same. Announcements, promises, prototypes, and patents. During this period, as Toyota remained the world's top-selling automaker, its hybrid models continued to set sales records. By 2017, the total hybrid sales had crossed the 10 million mark. But despite all that success, the hybrid-focused company had delivered neither the solid-state batteries it promised nor the hydrogen vehicles it once bet on. In the end, Toyota became a victim of its own success with hybrid cars. From 2012 onward, the ground shifted fast. Lithium-ion battery prices fell by nearly 90%. China's EV market surged past 40%. Battery production climbed beyond 1.5 terawatt-hours. By then, Toyota's battery strategy was already on an irreversible path. Setbacks are inevitable in any industry, and Toyota was no exception. Still, the company remained committed to next-generation battery development, backed by enormous R&D spending. According to a study published in 2023, Toyota secured more than 8,000 solid-state battery patents between 2000 and 2023. The race was far from over. In the US alone, $14 billion was invested in a single battery factory, and dozens of smaller plants were already on the way. Here's what often gets missed. Toyota didn't stick with hybrid cars because it didn't believe in electric cars. It stuck with hybrids because of batteries. Rather than investing heavily in the lithium-ion chemistries used in today's EVs, like NMC or LFP, Toyota chose to lean on nickel metal hydride and extend the hybrid era for as long as it could. Toyota was so focused on the next battery breakthrough that it fell behind in the present. While competitors were producing tens of gigawatt hours of batteries every year and launching millions of EVs, Toyota still didn't have a new battery it could mass produce, even 2 decades later. During its technology transition, Toyota made a critical misstep. The battery strategy Toyota began with nickel metal hydride in the 1990s never really moved beyond it. This technology led to batteries that were roughly twice as large and nearly 3 times heavier than lithium alternatives. With this battery, producing electric vehicles simply wasn't viable for the Japanese giant. Even more striking was Toyota's balance sheet. Despite being the world's best-selling automaker, the company was carrying more than $255 billion in debt. In fact, outside the financial institutions, Toyota was the most in-debt company in the world. On top of that, Toyota was losing ground in China, one of its largest markets, after failing to keep pace with the EV transition. So, alongside its massive debt, the revenue stream that hybrids once guaranteed was starting to weaken. With that level of debt, Toyota knew it couldn't rapidly build battery capacity for millions of EVs. So, it invested in large strategic markets like the US and China and pushed hybrids everywhere else. Despite massive hybrid sales, Toyota's debt burden prevented it from leading to EV transition or matching its pace. In the end, hybrids became a trap, one Toyota was unwilling or unable to escape.